Recently, I had the pleasure of interviewing Gavin Verhey of Magic R&D. Not once, but twice. I'm very happy with how those two videos came out, because I feel I was tough but fair in my questions, and very genuine in my follow-up questions. So, a few nights ago I was out with a friend, relaying these feelings about the videos, when that friend asked me, "Do you regret that you didn't do the same thing with Mark Rosewater?" For those newer to the channel, about 3 years ago, I had the opportunity to interview Mark Rosewater at PAX. This opportunity was one being granted to dozens upon dozens of various creators who were invited to PAX by Wizards of the Coast. It was essentially like a press junket. And as I stood in that crowd of creators and watched person after person ask Mark similar, if not the same questions, and receive very stock corporate answers, I felt overwhelmed with a desire to do something different. So what I decided to do was a joke. Can you tell us when exactly Wizards of the Coast plans to reprint Damnation?
I can't answer that.
The idea was that all the questions I asked in the interview would end up being things that Mark was completely unable or not allowed to comment on, so that essentially I had a relatively quiet, very short, and answer-free interview with the normally boisterous and talkative Rosewater. The response from viewers was, shall we say, mixed, but hey, I thought it was funny, and so did Mark. So when asked, do I regret that I didn't try and arrange for a more personal, intense, and critical interview with Mark the way I had with Gavin? No, I don't regret that, because I don't think such an interview would have even been granted at that time anyway. It was not appropriate for the setting, nor my presence there at PAX. And hey, like I said, I think the video I shot is a pretty solid laugh. Magic Online? But it got me to thinking, what are my true biggest regrets over these last 5.5 years as a Magic the Gathering content creator? So presented here are the 5 biggest regrets that I have about the videos and content that I have made. Now, please note, this video and these regrets are about my choices in regards to the work I do, my videos on my channel, and will not include any sort of personal drama or behind-the-scenes conflicts that may or may not have happened over the years. So don't expect me to recount the drunken barroom brawl Rosewater and I may or may not have gotten into allegedly once. But focusing on real things and real regrets, my 5th biggest regret goes all the way back to my 10th ever video, a review of binder pages and portfolios, which featured brands such as Ultra Pro and Monster. In this video, I wanted to highlight a rare but highly alarming possibility that can happen in binder storage. That issue is that if unsleeved cards are tightly packed in a portfolio and stored without any movement for a year or longer, there is a chance of them potentially becoming fused or otherwise stuck to the back of the pocket, leaving either an imprint on the card or possibly even damaging it. So that issue was and is real. Hey, if you are tightly packing cards in a portfolio and know you will not touch them for well over a year, then sleeve those cards, or at least sleeve the one in the back that's pressed up against the portfolio pocket back. But even though that issue is real, I didn't know what was actually causing it. So I took an educated guess. And then I failed to say in the video that it was an educated guess. After speaking with several friends at the time, we all guessed the cause of this issue might be that portfolio pages are not completely acid-free, despite being labeled as such. So in the review, I stated with authority, this is because the pages are not acid PVC-free. It wasn't long before a few companies showed me proof that their products were indeed acid-free. Of course, I issued a correction and added one to the video as well, but I still regret this immensely, so much so that it makes my top 5. Why? Because words matter, and my words as a reviewer and a critic matter. If I'm going to state something as certain, it is my responsibility to be damn sure it is certain. And if it is just speculation or guesswork, then I need to state it as such. I've used this particular regret, like all the regrets I will go over here, to inform and shape my channel and the videos I now make. I watch my words carefully, and though I still make mistakes, I try and stay vigilant as possible to prevent them, and I certainly issue corrections when they do occur. Speaking of shaping my channel through regrets, that brings me to number 4, another huge regret out of the very distant past, still within the first year of my channel, video number 19 actually. It was my unboxing/evaluation videos of an MTG gift box service called the Monthly Magic Box. If you are too young to remember this travesty of what ultimately turned into an outright scam, then consider yourself lucky. Recently, I did a video where I expelled Walmart mystery cubes, but the first product, and here I use the term generously, that I ever expelled was the Monthly Magic Box. I don't regret expelling it, but I do regret that I featured it on my channel at all. Why? It started out as a basic grab bag. For X dollars, this service would send you discount and magic products that they acquired in bulk at such packs, accessories, things like that. And you, the consumer, had you bought all of these products over the counter, it would have supposedly cost you more than X. And the initial boxes were indeed this, but the service soon deteriorated into sending less than what it was charging in value, and eventually to not sending anything at all, but still happily taking people's money. Now, in the early days, the Monthly Magic Box sent sample boxes out to just about every MTG YouTuber, as well as magic content creators of other kinds, and most people chose to do unboxings. When I received a sample box from them, I looked up the value of the items on eBay and Amazon and added up those values in my unboxing video. The problem is that YouTube videos are eternal, whereas the quality of a service is not. When the Monthly Magic Box decayed from legitimate product into outright scam, I found out at the same time as everyone else. Even when done well, grab bags and mystery boxes are a dubious product at best. As I said in my Mystery Cube review recently, if someone is withholding the information of what you are getting, then it usually means that the product or what you are getting is crap. Because of the Monthly Magic Box, I stopped reviewing mystery crate and box services not too long after. And currently, my policy, as it has been since I made that first Monthly Magic Box video 5 years ago, has been and shall remain to never review any monthly grab bag service, period. Expelled indeed, the whole genre. It's funny, I'm noticing an interconnectedness between many of these biggest regrets, because my third biggest regret has to do with another service, and in all honesty, on different days and different moods, I might look at this list and say, this next one should have been my number 1 biggest regret, or possibly number 2. It's certainly up there, but for this video, I'm putting it at number 3, and that is my regret in regards to the nuclear implosion of a disaster that was PucaTrade. Again, for those of you too young to remember, PucaTrade was this service that allowed you to trade your paper magic cards for Puca points that were then used toward trading for other magic cards. It was presented as a system to help facilitate trades, protect users in those trades, and all around to become a tool used by the majority of Magic the Gathering players. And for a while, it was just that. The problem was that PucaTrade had an inherent built-in flaw in terms of how its economy worked, namely that there was no cash-out option for Puca points. I'll spare you the lengthy details about why this was what ultimately caused the service to eat itself. Suffice it to say, it was deeply flawed, but at first, we were all using it. Before I ever did my one video on PucaTrade, I was a loyal and happy customer of it. They were used and endorsed by just about everyone in the Magic community, from the top MTG streamers at the time to other YouTubers to, well, for a while their name was just about everywhere. That's when PucaTrade came to me about a sponsored video, which I ended up doing. But that's not the regret. Not yet. Now, I don't and have never sold endorsements or grades for sponsored videos, but what I did do, briefly before my current exclusive sponsorship with Card Kingdom, was agree to craft an instructional video for PucaTrade as a one-time deal, where I would do a video explaining what PucaTrade was and how it worked, how to use it, and then post that video on my channel. And again, I don't regret that, because at the time, I was a PucaTrade customer myself, and as a Magic the Gathering review and information site, I likely would have done a video about PucaTrade eventually, accepting a one-time sponsorship payment to expedite the crafting of what wasn't even a review video, but just a how to use video. No, the regret came well over a year later when the cracks of the service began to show. Like I said, I was a user myself, and I began to notice problems with sending and receiving cards, and then the site rolled out a massive overhaul that featured a buggy and poorly implemented new UI that must have been the final straw hitting the camel's back, and the service began plummeting down a hole from which it ultimately would never recover. Luckily, PucaTrade wasn't a sponsor of me. They had just sponsored the one video well over a year ago. That was the entirety of our relationship. One flat fee, and then I just went back to being a paying customer myself. So I crafted a review of PucaTrade, specifically of the future site redesign and the current state of the service, and warned people in the review to steer clear of PucaTrade. That was actually more than a little scary. I was worried at the time with questions like, would they sue me for warning people away from them? Could they? Well, it was the right thing to do, and I did it. But what I regret is that I didn't do it sooner. You see, I waited about a month after the new design launch to put out my review, when I should have done so immediately. Regret. I wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt, I think, that maybe with some fixes and time they could get their act together. I should have been more cynical and more critical in this regards. The service was in need of a review right away, and I delayed with the hope that they could maybe right the ship. A deep regret. And in many ways, this is similar to the monthly Magic Box, a service that began legitimate but quickly degraded. Even though I barely had any relationship with PucaTrade, one how to use video and then a review failing the service, I absolutely hated my involvement to the point that I now outright refuse to do videos on any recurring monthly services. I hear there are many fine services out there today doing variations on what PucaTrade did, only doing it right, and I use a few of them privately. There's also things like Mana Traders for Magic Online that I use as a very happy customer, but I am not doing so much as a how-to-use video on these because the bad precedent set by PucaTrade. I just don't feel I can or even should review services anymore, because those services can change in quality overnight, and I just don't want to. I won't. Now, number 2 is one I already did an entire video on, and that video was titled The Truth About MTG Finance. I won't restate the whole video here. You can go watch it if you haven't already, but what happened was that I used the term MTG Finance to describe a very specific set of people that I was frustrated with. And MTG Finance is more of a broad term that simply means anyone who engages in anything from the buying, selling, or even just trading of Magic cards to increase value and potentially make profit. And that's a lot of players. That's myself. I have trade folders. I like to buy a card low and sell it high. And I was really speaking of a very specific group. Many Magic the Gathering players were actually upset at me over this apology/clarification video because they too were angry at the same small group of financiers that engage in the type of behavior that I myself find objectionable. But as I said at the start of this video, I'm a man who believes that words have meaning. And I want to use those words and convey those meanings accurately. I regret that I was not more specific in my initial video, and I regret that I lumped everyone who in any way might engage in MTG Finance, from just up trading cards from their collection at a GP to buying a few copies of a card when it is low and then selling it when it was high, with the more negative and toxic elements of that community. I'm not interested in easy dunks on people, and I'm interested interested instead in getting my words and ideas correct, as I explained in that video. So what is my biggest regret out of all these years as a Magic the Gathering YouTuber? Without a doubt, the number one regret I have, the one I think I messed up the most on, the one where I feel I failed myself the most on, is the issue of cardstock quality, and the fact that I not only didn't make a video on this incredibly important issue until well after when I should have, but that for a long time my stance was that I should not make a video on it at all. What the hell happened? What was I thinking? Well, here's what happened. The truth is that as far as the dramatic decline in cardstock quality, which seems to have started with Battle for Zendikar, I missed it. I saw it. I remember, for example, one stack in particular of BFZ cards that had been sitting for a long period on my dresser and noticing that they looked wrong, curled and flimsy when I'd picked them up. And yet for some damn reason, my brain disregarded this. It didn't scream at me, hey, you need to look into this. The cards don't look right. The cards don't feel right. Are other cards this bad? If so, why? What's going on? Maybe it's just that since Magic had had well over 2 decades at that point of excellent quality cardstock, that the idea that they could be printing on crappy cardboard was just so unexpected that my brain couldn't register it. Whatever the reason, despite seeing it, despite my remembering seeing it, I honestly didn't register it until I started seeing threads on Reddit sometime later. I'll forgive myself for not registering the issue. I missed it, but I won't forgive myself for not reacting by the time these threads were all over Reddit. There were several incredibly well thought out and well documented threads, and several other community members from other YouTubers to other podcasters, etc., who were reporting on the issue. And I should have grabbed my cards, began research, and began a video. But not only did I not do this, I actually resolved to not make a video on the subject at all. My reasoning was that I had missed my opportunity. I did not like the idea of repeating what others had already said. And in this case, by the time it came to my attention, I felt that so many Magic the Gathering players and creators had commented on it that I would just be piggybacking. This was a flat-out mistake on my part, one I eventually changed my mind on, but my regret falls squarely there, on that inaction. It was only through conversations, in all honesty, with many of you, the viewers and community, the people who spoke to me and with me about why they thought I should make a video on the subject regardless, that eventually convinced me I was wrong. And I then tried my best to make a high-quality presentation of the problem. Was it too little too late? In that regard, it doesn't matter. My regret and my mistake is that I did not react the moment I was made aware of the issue. I can't always be the first to an issue. Sometimes my videos and commentary will come late because that is just how I am and how I create. But that doesn't mean my words still don't have value. That was the lesson I learned about myself, and it's my number one regret in the entire history of my channel. It's interesting, as I compile this list and write my thoughts, how these regrets interconnect. The regret over the monthly Magic Box connects to the regret over PucaTrade, the regret over language to convey my ideas from the binder video connecting to just what MTG Finance is and what it means. And I think all 4 of them coalescing in my flawed understanding of my own words and my own actions, or lack thereof, when it comes to the cardstock issue. But in each of these, and many more, I am proud of my ability to admit my mistakes and to do what needed to be done. Ego didn't prevent me from making the video about cardstock in the end, however late it was. Fear didn't lead to me not speaking out against PucaTrade, nor embarrassment, the monthly Magic Box, nor pride, correcting myself on the Ultra Pro portfolios. No one is or will ever be perfect in all things. When you lose a game, you do everything you can to learn from that loss, and you apply those lessons to your future games, and that is how you get better at the game. Magic the Gathering taught me that, but it's not just about a game. It's about life, the life that we live, and so much more. And that is why, while I have more than a few regrets over the years, I am proud as ever to be moving forward, bigger and better, with each day, each lesson, here at Tolarian Community College. And this program was made possible thanks to a sponsorship from Card Kingdom, as well as the Patreon support of viewers such as you. So thank you.